And it wasn't until each one of them made one simple yet profoundly difficult change that their health began to transform. Welcome to the Wisdom of the Body podcast. I'm your host, Heather Grzych. Here, we talk about the profound connection between mind, body, and spirit. Join me and other authors, wellness experts, and everyday individuals talk about the importance of listening to our bodies, trusting our guts, and living in deeper harmony with nature. So, whether you're seeking guidance on your wellness journey or simply looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. We're thrilled to be in the top 3% of podcasts globally. You can find the Wisdom of the Body podcast on Apple, Spotify, and most other places where people listen to podcasts. You can follow by joining my email list at heathergrzych.com or by following me on Instagram at Heather Grzych. That's Heather, Grzych. I know you're going to love this podcast, so take a second right now to subscribe. Welcome back to the Wisdom of the Body. We are a podcast that explores the fascinating intelligence of our bodies and how we can reconnect with it in a world that often pulls us away from that intelligence. I'm your host, Heather Grzych, and today I want to discuss something that we hear a lot about in healing circles, the idea of treating the root cause of illness. And it's a phrase that pops up in almost every healing tradition, whether it's Ayurveda or Chinese medicine or naturopathy, or even the more progressive edges of Western medicine. But what do we really mean by root cause? And how do we know when we've actually found the root cause of something? And I'm a big believer in learning from healers, but I think healers are also writers and artists and people that help us see things that are more subtle, that we may not see in our day-to-day lives when we're just going through the hamster wheel of life. So today I'm going to start with a reading from, strangely enough, a book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Now, you wouldn't expect something like I'm about to read to come from a book about war, but that's what's happening. Something really brilliant here. According to an old story, a lord of ancient China once asked his physician, a member of a family of healers, which of them was the most skilled in the art of healing. The physician, whose reputation was such that his name became synonymous with medical science in China, replied, "My eldest brother sees the spirit of sickness and removes it before it takes shape. So his name does not get out of the house. My elder brother cures sickness when it is still extremely minute. So his name does not get out of the neighborhood. As for me, I puncture veins, prescribe potions, and massage skin. So from time to time, my name gets out and is heard among the lords." Many people want to complain about the healthcare industry and want to complain about the care that they receive when they go to their doctor's office. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I think it's time that we really settle into the fact that there is only so much that can happen in your doctor's office. And there's actually only so much that can happen even when you go to your holistic provider's office. Now, one may allow you to get more deep, more subtle, more connected than the other. And we know that everything takes time as well. But what if this idea that what is deeply, deeply subtle and deeply at the root of healing may not ever come from a medical provider's office, but maybe the medical provider tees you up for the learning that you are going to find in the right way. So today, I want to share with you a couple of stories. Two very different people who were doing everything right. I have my quotes up, everything right on paper. They ate well, they exercised, they followed all the wellness tips that they saw on the internet, but still they were unwell. And it wasn't until Each one of them made one simple yet profoundly difficult change that their health began to transform. These are not just stories about symptoms, they're about alignment and misalignment with our deeper nature. So, in the first case, we have a nurse. She's 40 years old. She works in a high intensity hospital unit. She rotates between day and night shifts. Very type A. She's got to accomplish a lot of things. Incredibly competent. Meal prepped. Foods. Salads. Lean meats. Took her vitamins. Took her supplements. Takes an exercise class. Again, doing everything the right way. But her body was fighting her. She was gaining weight around her belly, which was new for her. And her labs had started to show signs of hypothyroidism. And she was frustrated. She thought she was doing all the right things. She even tried cutting calories, increasing her workouts, going to do HIIT workouts, going to do intense cycling workouts. But that wasn't helping. In fact, she started getting a lot of inflammation. She started to feel very emotionally volatile. So she would feel really good right after she exercised, but then really, really unstable the whole rest of the time. So looking at her through the lens of Ayurveda, there was a classic Pitta imbalance going on. This burnout from the fire element. Now, also Vata, because of the irregular nature of the routines. Anybody who doesn't sleep along the circadian rhythm is going to experience Vata issues. And what happens from these Vata issues is a cascade of other effects, including Pitta issues, including disruption in the metabolism, or what we call the Agni in the body. So living in a cycle of over-efforting, pushing through exhaustion that is created from really awful hours, and ignoring what her body was whispering until it started screaming. That high achieving, that fix-it mode, it was really frying her internal thermostat, including her thyroid. And when we want to think about what is the root cause, now, what if your job is the root cause? What if your work schedule is your root cause? I think a lot of people feel that their job has something to do with them being sick, but mainly it's because we spend so much time doing our jobs, but also because our jobs create a certain type of schedule or rhythm for us. And when that rhythm takes us out of alignment with the cycles of the sun, the moon, plus we have a deep overuse of our body at certain times because of the fact that we are severely fatigued from being disrupted in the circadian rhythm. Well, what happens is we start to work against our constitutions. Now, there's a whole book about sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker, which is a really great book, which can tell you all the things that happen if you don't get proper sleep, including sleeping at the right times. Here's the part many people struggle with. What do you do when the thing causing the problem is part of your job and you need your job? You can't just quit your job, because for her and for many people, her job was actually her calling. If you go into being a nurse, that's not an easy job to be a nurse. The things that nurses see, the things that they get involved in, the things that they're exposed to can be very, very traumatic, very, very meaningful as well. They see the best and the worst of humanity. They see the most tragedy and the most miracles of all of humanity. And they love helping people. They're highly empathic. But shift work, no matter what field you're in, is not good for your health. It presents a lot of challenges. So when the case where your job is actually, there's a huge obstacle or big challenge with being able to solve the root cause of an issue, have to find out what's actually within your power to change. You can't quit being a nurse if you love being a nurse. I mean, that's your calling, but you can find different hours to work, which may not be easy for everyone, but somebody could switch to a department that has more consistent day shifts, even if it means up giving some flexibility or status. I know, though, somebody does need to work those night shifts. It's tragic. It's super tragic. Somebody's got to do it. But for a lot of people, they'll be able to make these changes to a different schedule. It's not easy. And for her, it took 6 months and it required some big personal decisions. Big personal decisions may often take a long time, because if you change something big in your life, it unravels more than just the change that you are thinking. It unravels a whole bunch of other stuff too. So when we make big personal decisions, even if they're ones that are going to end up being good for us, we have to do a lot of preparation to make them. We have to really be ready for them. But moving to a day shift, that one change gave her a chance to sleep regularly. It gave her a chance to eat at more consistent times in which she was able to regulate her metabolism. She was able to stabilize her thyroid functioning and cool some of that internal inflammation that had been quietly building for years. And within 2 months of switching to day shifts, her energy stabilized. She started losing weight, not because she was dieting, but because her Agni, her metabolic fire, was finally able to regulate. So there's this great way I heard somebody say, I think it was in that Why We Sleep book by Matt Walker, something about when we don't sleep, it's like our body cries famine, even when we're well fed or we're in the middle of the feast. It's like our body thinks it's hungrier than it is. And even our hunger chemicals in our body and the different hunger hormones and appetite hormones, they will build in our bodies during those times as a stress response. So when we regulate sleep, we regulate a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's really, really, really beautiful. It's a very simple change, but it is not easy for people. It is definitely not easy for people. It makes us need to make a lot of difficult decisions sometimes, difficult decisions. And when we do that, though, we even get our thyroid numbers to normalize, unless things have gone on for a really long time, because after a while you can really damage that thyroid as well as other parts of your body when you let things go on for a really long time. So in this case, she didn't quit her job, but she did reshape her role to protect her health. And that is something more of us can do than we think if we get creative and brave. In a second example, I want to share the executive with the gluten intolerance. He was 42 and ultra disciplined, kind of like a biohacker guy, goes to the gym a lot, 6 days a week, does intermittent fasting, cut out gluten, cut out dairy, always trying the latest supplements, the powdered greens, all these little like supplement drinks that all these biohacker guys are promoting, and protein shakes or adaptogenic drink mixes with various supplements and maybe even some Ayurvedic herbs in them. But when I met him, he had really intense bloating and fatigue and brain fog, and went to a GI doctor about the bloating, the GI issues. The GI doctor said, hey, I think you've got non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So that's why he had cut out the gluten completely. But then months later, he cut the gluten out. He still wasn't better, and started to think, oh, maybe some gluten got into my food, and started, thinking every time he felt bad that there was secret gluten stuck somewhere in the food. It must be that there was a contamination, because oftentimes when we don't feel well, we want to blame it on the one thing. We want to look at the one thing and we latch onto it. It's like we want that smoking gun. And sometimes it's something completely different and we are just looking in the wrong place for the thing to blame. Now, gluten, to be fair, it's not super easy for a lot of people to digest, but when our Agni, when our metabolic strength is in a good condition, then gluten is tolerable and digestible for many people. But the issue is that we have a metabolic crisis in the United States and many other countries. And when we have a metabolic crisis, we don't digest our food well. And when we don't digest our food well, it doesn't digest completely. It can irritate our gut lining as it goes through, and it can cause a bunch of imbalances in the skin of the gut lining or the moisture of the gut lining. And that can cause a whole bunch of issues if what comes from the gut then goes into the rest of the body in that improperly processed way. And that is what ends up beginning to replace the cells, the tissues, and the nutrients of our body because it hasn't been digested properly. So when you cut out the gluten completely and still not getting better, then you got to dig deeper. And we found that it wasn't actually about gluten. Again, it was about his Agni, his digestive fire, being completely overwhelmed and then also kind of dampened in a strange way through these powdery, liquidy, icy drinks and supplement blends. That large quantities of liquid at this one time. And these powdery drinks, they're not food. They taste like food. They're made to taste like food, but they're over processed substances and they can be very light and dry and complex for somebody's digestion to actually assimilate them. And many people drink them in a cold form. And when you eat and drink things in a cold form, they don't always get as assimilated as easily and processed as properly, especially if we're putting ice all over everything. So instead of strengthening the person's system, like I truly believe if somebody's consuming all these supplement drinks that the biohackers are recommending everybody take right now, I know they want to be healthy. They want to be stronger. They want to be, they're trying hard to feel better and do the right thing for their body. But unfortunately, it's a small detail, a qualitative detail that gets missed, which is the volume of liquid at one time or the temperature of what is consumed that can really affect the way something is being digested and whether or not your body can actually even use it. So what can happen is when that Agni becomes compromised, the body can actually lose its ability to extract its nourishment from the food. So the root cause in this case was not, although gluten is one of those foods that people will have difficulty with when their Agni is compromised or when the doshas are imbalanced in the gut. Like if there's already inflammation in the gut and you eat something that has a more rough quality to it as it goes through the gut or a very heating quality as it goes through the gut, it's going to irritate it further. So when the Agni is impaired from various things, including over supplementation, including consuming too many icy beverages, including eating what you think you're supposed to eat rather than eating what you're actually hungry to eat or when you're hungry to eat, that disconnection from when the body's actually hungry, that intuitive eating, knowing when the body needs it and what it wants, then that creates a problem. So once simplifying his diet with warm or whole meals or, reducing some of the powders. I'm not saying powders are bad because, we use them in Ayurveda as well. But what's so strange to me is that I had a yoga teacher who was a vegan once, and every morning I would see her at breakfast during yoga teacher training, and she would have 15 pills and supplements in front of her. And I started to wonder if that was really efficient, if you just have let go of whatever ethical issues you have about eating meat, which I'm not saying whether or not you're right or wrong when you eat meat, but thinking about how much more inefficient sometimes our supplementation can be. And sometimes we can get something right in front of us. It's right there and is available right there. So simplifying and, knowing when to drink so much liquid. Like if you have a huge thing of liquid and then you eat it with your meal, you're diluting your digestive enzymes. So this isn't about carbohydrates and fat and like the things that our mind always latches on when it comes to food, or like what specific nutrient or vitamin is in there. Sometimes it's literally just physics and chemistry. Like, oh, if I have more water, I'm going to make my Agni slightly less powerful, or slightly less, I'm going to change the acidity of my digestive juices. So it's very simple, actually, but we want to think it's very complicated. Also, when we become very rigid about eating, like I only eat at these times, or I only eat these foods, sometimes that cuts us off from innate intelligence as well. And we think we're doing the right thing. Like we literally think we're doing the right thing, but we're doing the right thing for something else, like maybe ethics or something like that, but not necessarily what that body wants right then. And in Ayurveda, our focus is to listen to the body. So when you start to listen to the body, then the digestion can wake back up. So that's what this guy did. And within a month, right away, basically the bloating goes away. You stop drinking the ice. Even just taking ice out of your diet just makes a huge difference for people. So stopping the ice, and it's not like I don't want people to have those powdery things, but it's like have them in less water. Don't have them in something cold. Make sure you can extract the good stuff that's in there and know that you actually need what's in there, because one herb is not good for everybody, right? So you have to figure out what is the right one for you. And then if you do these things, then bloating is going to go away, brain fog is going to go away. And oh my goodness, maybe even someday you'll be able to eat sourdough bread again. Or my favorite is more like a ciabatta or a sweet baguette or a Sicilian loaf. Yeah, I probably like those more than sourdough. But anyway, I go on about bread because I love it and I really feel bad. And I love pizza and I feel so bad when people can't eat pizza because it's so delicious. So waking the digestion back up, protecting the tissues properly in the gut, eating at the right times, eating what the body wants, getting rid of any excess dryness in the gut, getting rid of any inflammatory conditions in the gut, getting rid of any excess mucus in the gut, getting the digestive enzymes, the Agni, to be ready for the meals when we eat them and eat the meals that the Agni wants. It's pretty great, and helps a lot of things. So again, it's simple, but I'm not saying it's easy. And it meant letting go of this biohacker identity that he had, that, these people are laying down all these rules for him. It meant slowing down, sitting to eat, and trusting real food again. So what do you do when the root cause, maybe this is kind of an easier one, but it's not always easy to implement the changes that have to be made to remove the root cause. And in the case of like where it comes up from your job, like we talked about earlier, what if it's something that you can't just walk away from? Maybe it's your commute or your family responsibilities, like stuff you have to do for your kids or your parents. The answer isn't always to quit, but it is to pause and ask this question: how can I renegotiate this part of my life so my body isn't paying the price? It could be different hours, could be simplifying your routines. Sometimes it means shifting your inner relationship to the pressure that you're under, the pressure that others put on you, the pressure that you put on yourself, and finding rhythm in these smaller ways, because your body is not just trying to survive. Your body is trying to guide you. The symptoms are not the enemy. They're messages. They're signals. They're invitations to look again. So today I'm going to leave you with this question. What's one simple but not easy change that your body has been quietly asking for? Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone you care about. And remember, your body is wise. Trust its signals. Until next time, take care. If you are embarking on a fertility journey and are ready to have your mind blown about what your body is really capable of and how it's impacted by the environment, then check out my book, The Ayurvedic Guide to Fertility. You can actually download the introduction to the book for free on my website at heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, GRZYCH.com. Read the intro for free and then buy the rest of this fertility enlightening book pretty much anywhere books are sold. Feeling like there's just not enough time in the day? You're not alone. Many of my clients, like Jessica, come to me overwhelmed, struggling and feeling the effects of aging. After just a few Ayurvedic sessions, Jessica was sleeping better, her digestion was regular, and she felt her vitality again. Ayurveda isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about creating balance so you can make time for what matters. Ready to reset your health and your life? Visit heathergrzych.com and book your consultation today. Thank you for tuning in and dropping in with us today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. I really want to hear your feedback. To learn more about my work, visit heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, GRZYCH.com. And meet me here next time on The Wisdom of the Body.